Mulishani watu.
Kwa mule ngumfwa.
Nde mumfwa wakalamba mwabombe.
Kwa mwabomba shani.
Hawo
tamwachira coachinga lero
awo lero kiri walise kuma nani lero walise ama try out games for the province again. Yeah.
Okay.
Kama provinces.
And what at least qualify? Qualify.
When Yambi, they want to make a team for Canada Games.
Oh, Canada Games.
So, the Kokuno.
Yeah. So apa na bika felinki bakalinda kachinga bali kwisa ku magolingo.
Wabina deep thinker.
Yeah, deep thinker chakwata na connection yabo. So kaibere bakalinde bakwata ma connection yabo. So
okay.
Bapaluke ntumine bana nikani abambone ngabala isa.
Okay.
Let me just give me 1 minute. Look, Mulengo mfwa. Hello. Kaziya.
Why ndeo?
Okay. So like I think like any about like in time. So now we apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Today it's a little bit disorganized, but it will have organized at the end of the day. So Zambia had 60. First of all, can you just introduce the PS Chanda, Kaziya? And he's had experience in government. He's had a lot of experience dealing with a lot of labor issues. Now, what do we look at it now, 60 years later? What can we say, like about Kaziya? Where are we in terms of labor laws, in terms of Zambia in general? What are we looking at?
I think we have gone to. I think my assessment of the 60 years is the 60 years where we started to fix what is not broken.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we started to fix our economy. It was broken at a certain point because we just needed to change the force. But I think we trusted too much of other people to come and even fix what was not broken. For instance, you would see that instead of just restructuring our mines, we gave them away. Instead of looking at our industries, we gave them away. In terms of the front base of putting a Zambian face, we kind of went into very selfish mode. If you see the advent of offenses, they came to later on as a result of what they have. The issue of leadership has been a bit of a challenge, So there's a lot of things that have happened over 60 years. Look at how the trade schools used to be. All our manufacturing sector which we had, we kind of lost them out with no insight of how we're going to revitalize them, because the research and development is gone. Our manufacturing sector is gone. We are now going to a consumption kind of arrangement. So the 60 years for me has showed us moving backwards a little bit in terms of if you look at the global north, it has moved forward with a lot of manufacturing, a lot of countries taking charge of their resources. I think on us we've gone the other way around, and I think we've been a little bit also polarized in terms of hating each other. It is we have given ourselves as our first priority. What we've done is that we prioritize other people in. Just look at how the issue of tribalism, issue of nepotism, issue of regionalism starting to take root into our political system, into our cultural system. The leadership employees, I say, people that come into leadership not as leaders but as workers are looking for what they need to get out of the system. So it has really been a good, and how at times we demonize our own people that are in leadership, how we have lost respect for our leaders. So a lot of things have happened in the last 60 years for me. But the good thing is that, of course, we have remained peaceful relatively, and I think in Africa we have kind of been a symbol of peace as Zambia, and a symbol of unity. We hope that we will continue that path and even build on those things that make us strong as a people. So that's how I see my 60 years. The 60 years I have lived a little bit to see what life looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point. A very valid point. Really, 60. If like you said, I think I can echo on one point you've mentioned in terms of industry. Industry in Zambia has been lost, and we had a lot of manufacturing industries back in the days. We had we used to manufacture vehicles, we used to manufacture TVs, radios, so many things, tires, everything. that time Zambia was industrialized. It was, the industries were there, they were working. And but what happened? Why did we lose, those industries? Okay, it was because obviously, as time moved, as time changed, and technology, Zambia could not keep up. Okay, so the same thing you're talking about, research and development. So we need to put in new young people in certain strategic places and put a lot of young people in schools and in trades, specific trades for certain industries, so that when a new technology comes up, us as Zambians, we're able to tap in and be able to, to work with the way the world is moving right now. But the way it was is like everything was set up. Thank you to, our first president, Kaunda, and his team. All the industries were there. They were set up. They built trade schools, okay? But the trade schools didn't have, one, the capacity, or they were not moving with the times in terms of technology. If technology changes, they're still the same way they were set up in the 60s. I think even up to today, I don't know if any trade school have advanced kind of machinery technology that they're using now. So those are the issues and the things that we need to look at. And for 60 years, me overall, I can say we are where we are because we left everything in the hands of our elders. Okay, I think it's time for young people to come up, young people to bring new ideas, visionary ideas, things that are going to move the country in the next 50, 100 years. Because we cannot just be in the same cycle from day one. So 60 years, we're proud as Zambians, we're proud as, Africans. And, during that course, we've, of course, helped a lot of people. We helped a lot of people, especially our neighboring countries, to gain independence. And if you look at Namibia, Zimbabwe, all these countries, South Africa, it was all because of Zambia and the leadership at the time. That was Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. He said, I will not let my fellow African not to be liberated. So he took it as a personal thing, and then as a country thing, and as a Pan-African, he said, we need to unite and we need to move forward as Africans. And Zambia lost a lot of resources during that struggle. Okay, hopefully the neighboring world will be able to remember Zambia one day, to say, these are the people that helped us. These are the people that we went to seek refuge. When we were in war, when we were being persecuted, when there was apartheid, and so on and so forth. So 60 years later, we are where we are. And I think we can do better. And I think we are moving now in the right direction, because we're seeing a lot of insurgence of industries coming up now. The copper belt was not the copper belt. It is now beginning to become the copper belt that it was, with all these big giant mines opening up. Of course, we cannot forget in Northwestern Province. I don't know if you've been watching the news. There's the big truck that's heading to Zambia. Kaziya, there's a big truck. Everybody is reporting about that big truck. So if things like that are moving in, it means the investors are very serious with what they're doing. And all the neighboring countries now are watching. They're like, oh wow, Zambia! All this is going to Zambia. So there's that. Like I said, insurgence, that revolution when it comes to mining. We can do better, but it has started to come back. Mining industry. So those are the few issues. I don't know if you want to tap in and talk about you know, how the labor industry is right now. Like, are we better?
Yeah, the problem in terms of labor relations, we have not done very well. In fact, in terms of labor relations, we could do better. But in terms of the legal framework, we have done very, very well because we changed the laws that were static for many years, over 60 years, 150 years. If you remember, the last time that the Employment Code was done, chapter 68, was around 1964. The Employment of Young Persons and Children's Act was done in 1938, 80 years. It was never changed. The minimum wages and conditions of service, Cap 274, was last done in 60, 65, somewhere there. So we changed the archaic law. We actually transformed it to put issues like discrimination, gratuities, making sure that people were respecting the maternity protection, which is one of the best in the world. The Swedish government came to learn from us at times. I had an interview when I was Labour Commissioner on just how we were implementing the Mother's Day, which is a day when a woman cannot show up for work for whatever and is not supposed to be asked reasons as to why he is not coming to work. So,
where are you?
Those were some of the things.
Okay.
But in terms of the, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. But kiravuga cyongo muri kwisa mulensha?
Awe shilesha ngenda bakufyo mwela.
Muri ndani sakwati mlipanse.
Awe ndipanse, that's why we are ufilo mwela so.
Okay. No, I can hear you, but kulifyo mwela uleshta nani kane. Disrupt what you're saying.
Still, are you feeling the same way?
Yeah. Takuli indo soko mwingela mu indo like an indo place.
Okay. Let me check.
Because you brought up so many good points that I think we need to look into. When the labor laws were done, and that was back in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we are still running on those, then I think we need to rethink and probably redo those laws because the world has changed.
That's why I'm saying that in terms of the laws, we kind of changed the laws to make sure that they reflect the current trends, the current global trends. It took us 8 years to make sure that we change the laws to what they are now. So right now, that's why we had the Employment Code of 2019, number 3 of 2019, was to make sure that we take into consideration all those lapses which were not in the law, to make sure that now we created a law that was good for us as Zambians.
Okay, so now people always talk about minimum wage, but minimum wage in Zambia, I don't think it has ever been followed. You find different people are paid differently, and like if there's a minimum wage set by the government, those standards are not followed. They're not followed, and most of these employers, they just will employ people because of desperation, and people have got no job. They'll give them what they feel like they can give them. So we find like I think we need to be a little bit strict. We've had so many labor ministers, but I don't think we have ever had one labor minister that stood up to say, look, you need to be paying our people this way, because everybody that sits on that seat I don't know whether they feel scared to talk to the investors or employers or what. I don't understand what it is. But everybody that comes there, people will be complaining to say, "Oh, you never hear of companies being put to task or
No, but you see, during I think I would speak for Honorable Joyce on the Smokoko MP. Being a former union leader, she did extremely very, very well, because all these changes that I'm telling you about, happened when she was minister. To change laws that have been there for 60 years, to make sure to give them what they are now, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing.
Okay, so it's not an easy thing, but
and then also the minimum wages and the conditions of employment. You find that you will see that we did the truckers the minimum wage for the first time. It has not been there. The domestic workers, the shop workers, the general order. So there are certain instruments which, based on the ILO recommendations, we were able to change to make sure that they become in line with the global trends, where the sectors are regulated through that in a developing economies. So all that was done. And then number two, the expansion of the ministry itself from just, I think, the 30 to 55 branches. Now we need to get them to 110 districts that were there. So in terms of the actions that were taken on labor, I think we did quite well, but we could have done much better. I'm not saying that it was 100%. No, we could have done much better on certain things, especially on the issues of compliance monitoring. One of the biggest challenges in labor relations right now in Zambia is compliance monitoring. Because when you hear people talk, it's not about the laws. The laws are sufficient, they are good, they are properly structured, but they are not enforced. The enforcement is narrowed. We created a structure which we are going to address that kind of loophole in the enforcement. We said, okay, how do we make sure that we start to benefit from the local councils, where we take, we look at health inspectors, train them into health and the occupational safety and health inspections. We train them into just general special inspections for labor. Then get the labor relations office to make sure they deal with the disputes. The people that may be in the human resource departments of the councils. These things were done so that each council can have someone, capacity built to deal with labor relations matters and be given a certificate of competence which comes from the labor commissioner to such a person. These things are there. They just needed to be rekindled. But then, with the change of government in Zambia and the change of government which I've seen 60 years, is where we throw away the baby and the water. Everything that was done by PF, because they are deemed to be wrong, therefore they are thrown away. And just like anything that UPND is doing, it should not be thrown away. It should be a ladder under which we build a continuous improvement systems. The things that are good, we keep. So it is this kind of failure to transition that has caused us not to have these smooth transitions and our people suffering. You see, right now we employ, and this has been my complaint. It happened when I was in government, where when they employ teachers, I complained. You say, wait a minute, you employ 30,000 teachers, but why can't you employ 30, 40 labor officers, 100 labor officers? That is all you need to have each one at each district to deal with the economic transformation, especially with coming of CDF. CDF has brought a lot of activities at constituency levels. But who is going to monitor the industrial relations and labor relations at constituency levels? It's the district labor officers that are supposed to be there. But they are not there. So people can complain, should cut people, eat their money, they work for nothing, and no one is able to do that. So current government, needs to work around that and say, to the labor relations and labor laws that we've created for ourselves, so that people are not abused. So those are some of the things that you see that could be done as going forward.
Well, Kaziya, no, that's good. Yes, we need to have more, like I was saying, we need to have more. In fact, what we need is, as the government, look, the government can only employ so much. They cannot employ everybody, you see, but they only employ very few people at the time at the go. And, those teachers that have been employed, that's good. The nurses, that's good. Service young men and women in the military, police. I mean, that's wonderful. I mean, I'm happy to see young people being employed. Now,
Yeah, but
if we're
my
saying that we
concern,
already have the laws in place,
yeah, but my
now,
concern is this, Chanda, and this is concern is when you say, okay, yes, I'm not saying that they can employ everybody at the same time, but if you're not, if labor relations is not a priority, then don't employ them. You understand? If you think like, oh, labor relations and making these people comply to this, it's okay for people to complain about shortcutted, benefits, people not paying them for the hours they've worked, and it is okay. And probably we should look at education. That is where we should focus. It's a priority. But for me, I'm saying, if you're going to employ 30,000, why don't you employ 49,000? And leave 1,000 for other sectors within government system, so that understand? So I'm not saying don't employ or whatever, but if you're going to employ 40,000, surely, and this is the people that you're employing. If it is 40,000, you may find that you're employing maybe 2,000 graduates, and these graduates will enter at the same amount of money. You don't even be a labor officer. It is the same money. It's the same salary scale. So why not look at that and make sure that is changed?
but people want to be able to hear what you're saying.
Okay,
Because
let me, as you talk, let me get to the car and maybe get in the car.
yeah. So Kaziya has brought up certain important factors that in the labor industry, one that we're currently looking at, we need to employ more, but well, employing more, yes, it's one thing, but we need people who are qualified, first of all. So people have to go to school first. So when people go to school, then they now learn those, modern standard laws. And then when they graduate, then you employ them. So it's more like a 360 kind of arrangement. As I look at it right now, I think, he's saying the laws were done or structured in the 60s. If we can really relook at them and come up with newer, laws that are going to fit and benefit a modern day employer for the in the next 21st century, or in the 21st century, then that would be good. Because back in the 60s, things were set up in a different way. There were very few people that were actually educated at that time. Now that we have a lot of educated people, can we find people that can say, look, this is what we need to do, and this is what the Zambian people will have, or the Zambian people will benefit when they're employed. All right? Okay. Right now, it's all in flames. Nobody knows. Or sometimes people would be there, people will be complaining, hey, they treat us badly, they beat us. Sometimes, some of these investors, they look and say, look, people, Zambians are desperate for a job. They fire one person, tomorrow another one is employed. They fire one person, tomorrow another one is employed. So there isn't that much, continuity in terms of getting experience, skills, and all that. But we need to set up certain standards, just like anywhere in the world. I mean, there are certain standards that you put up, and people have to follow those standards. And if they don't follow those standards, people should be taken to book. Okay, not just one person. They go on the TV, they're complaining this is what's happening, but nobody is doing what? Nobody's doing nothing. So we end up in the same situation over and over and over. And in the last 60 years, as Zambia, our mother Zambia, very few people are employed. Okay, but entrepreneurship is one way that people can actually, employ themselves. And this is being done through now the CDF programs that we have. So many programs are happening right now. All right. So, hello. Yeah. So, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was saying, if you check the CDF, people are getting employed. But when you are employing, you have to comply to the rules. You are not going to create your own systems. You comply to the law and you are held accountable for breaking it. But if there's no one to hold you accountable, what happens? People get exploited, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like, look, our labor ministers, once they've come and gone, we've seen a lot of labor ministers. We've never had a strong labor minister. Strong to say, look, if people are complaining about something, there's no way you can be treating Zambians like this. After that, nothing. You see? So it's because they're not. It's more like an everyday thing. It's more like you know what? Just as long as people are employed, because one time I had one what year it was. As long as I'm getting something on shit, most as done the money, because we definitely the government it depend pari manani can have my investors. Yeah. So most as done the money, getting something on shit, like want to acquire. Yeah. You should know, but you should call it crucial just because it's French. No.
But Mama Chanda, that's why when you say you've never seen, I've told you to say that may not be the position, because the position that is very known is a position where we have had a minister who comes in, changes the laws, actually provides leadership and changes the law, which were never done for over 80 years in some instances. And also created new regulations that should be able to protect the new sectors that are vulnerable, like for instance, the truckers. So one of the things is that there will always be complaints if we do not strengthen the capacity to hold people that abuse the workers accountable. The accountability part of the labor relations and monitoring has been a problem right now. Because abantu bachusha abantu and they get away with it. Why? Because the labor officers are not there. Decentralized system where now money is at community level, district level. It requires people to be there to monitor that the compliance and the same conditions that are supposed to be are being followed. But in Gatapari, any employer, an employee is a cost, by the way. If it can be cut, he will cut it. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? It's a cost. So if someone can cut it, they'll cut it. So you need compliance. So for me, I'm saying you need to employ. My English are 40,000 teachers. You can employ even 100 labor officers, because there's also degree holders, and they are there. Mlungushi University has stated the course, and the people are there. They're not employed. So that is my point.
Well, before you finish, we have a guest, Fisho Mwale, has joined us today. Welcome, Uncle Fisho. It's been a long time since I saw you when I was a little boy. Now we are men now, But welcome to our little podcast, and yeah, we welcome you, and of course, you have obviously have a lot of experience in the government as well, and we of course, we can learn from you, just like we're learning from, your counterpart, Kaziya. He's been teaching us, telling us, how the government systems, in terms of the labor laws, how they've been, from the 60s till now. Where are we? That's what we've been discussing so far, just to bring you up to speed. But you can also chip in and tell us, of course, I mean, people who are watching, I mean, obviously, I know you, but, some people may not know. If you just give us a brief introduction, who, Uncle Fisho Mwale is, and, then we go from there.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And I'm sorry for joining in at this time, but at least I'm not 60 years late to join the show.
Yeah.
I think the starting point really for me would be to first and foremost acknowledge those who generated this day which we are celebrating 60 years ago. Because without them, without their sacrifices, without their spiritual wherewithal, we would not have achieved the independence that we know. So for us to really critically examine and appreciate where we are, we must first of all know where we are coming from. And even if we try to belittle that, we must also within ourselves acknowledge that you have to have a sense of value as a country. You have to have set beliefs in yourselves as to who you are and what forms you as a culture, as a society, as a community, or as a nation. Now, you can only start off with those values by knowing where you are coming from. What values did those who attend our independence embrace? And over time, what values did they inculcate in the system which they wanted to develop? I think, let's say for the first 30 or 40 years of our country, you can say that at the top, you had nationalistic values which identified everyone as a Zambian. And they held those values very proud. And those within that nationalistic concept, they embrace certain aspects of an ideology. They embrace certain aspects of integrity, certain aspects of morality, certain aspects of servitude or pride in what they were doing, and they embraced a high element of performance which did not entertain corruption. So I'm saying those are some of those values which drove the nation to where we are now, where we say we are developed. Now,
you're breaking off. You're breaking off a little bit.
Well, it's not me, it's you. My value here is to be consistent in my delivery, and technology is letting us down.
Now you've actually.
What am I saying?
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that I think we, the generation that we are now, we have lost probably half of those values. And in a way, it has accelerated our development projection.
Mm.
We are standing still, and we have at this time the opportunity to look back and say, what values have we lost, which are not helping us accelerate our development? Why are we deaccelerating?
We want people to hear you clearly, Uncle. You know, because I think you've moved. I know you're using your phone or the mic. I don't know. Just switch it the way it was. It was
Actually, I had switched off. I was in the car.
Oh.
And I'm sorry, I switched off the car speaker because it was echoing.
Oh, okay.
But
no, it's much better
I'm in
now.
the car because we have I'm in the car because we have no electricity in this country.
My God! Oh my God! Okay, now you can go ahead. You're much more clear.
That is a topic. That is a topic for another day. But
yes,
it is a symptom. It is a symptom of where we are right now. We are failing to manage ourselves. And I put it because we have lost certain values, which certain aesthetics in the governance history, which have led to the acceleration of our development. So this 60th anniversary, for me, it's a mixed feeling because I am a child of independence. I'm not a millennial. I'm a child of independence, and I benefited from the independence of this country. I had excellent free education. I had excellent free health facilities. I had excellent job opportunities. I had excellent extra opportunities to free education in other universities. So the opportunities were there, and the opportunities did not have to diminish. But we lost certain values where we started under developing ourselves. That is my introductory remarks there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Kaziya, you got something to say? You got something to add on? Hello, Kaziya, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Fisho. How are you? It has been long time. I'm happy to hear from you. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear from you.
My pleasure.
So like Fisho is saying, you know, he's not a millennial. For me, I love the way he has saved Zambia. You know, he's been a very realistic person in the way he sees life, in the way he does things. In terms of the way the country is right now, and even in the past for me, he has a body of knowledge we must all benefit from. And the level of objectivity when he looks at things and the way he looks at matters. We served on one board where he was the board chairman and I was a board member. And for me, he stood out to be really a leader that is worth listening to when he speaks to certain things. So, Fisho, I want to hear more about how you look at how we've moved from oneness as a people into what you see now.
Yeah. Well, before he gets into that, he brought in a very important thing: foundation that our forefathers left for us. Let's talk about Vakaunda and his friends, Vakapwepwe, Nkumbula, all those freedom fighters, my great grandma, Mama Chikamoneka, all those people contributed and left a foundation for Zambia, for us to carry and learn from those principles and upgrade ourselves as the world evolves. But he was saying that, look, I think we've lost almost, was it 50 or 70% of what they laid down, and we've lost it. That's why Zambia is where it is now, because some of the values and some of the ideas, some of the, naturalistic, approach that we had to many things have been lost through the years. And why? Maybe is it the leadership that has been there before that came after Kaunda? Was it the reason? Or maybe we didn't have enough qualified people? Who knows what happened? And if you can just continue your thought.
You see, the foundation, and that is precisely what my comment is alluding to, is the loss of that foundation. Because I remember what the Independence Day used to look like. We all remember that. We all remember what the Youth Day used to look like. They used to be where you go and wait somewhere for a purpose of collective good. But that has since left out. You remember the independence celebrations were not being done at state houses. They were done at the Independence Stadium. We play and gather and everyone is dressed in that. But we have lost all
that. Over to you, Fisho.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I think
it's dropped off. Yeah. I mean, we need to, for us to move forward, I think we need to appreciate, our founding fathers. So our founding fathers, built this nation, and we need to, appreciate their works.
It's back, my turn.
Okay, go ahead, Fisho. Yeah, you can go ahead. We can hear you now. Oh, it's dropped off again. So yeah, in fact, Idia Shiriana and Kanedi, our founding fathers. Founding fathers.
Yeah.
Hello. You're back.
Yeah, you're clear. Yeah. Oh, me. I'm back. Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think you wanted to start saying something.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that in order to understand where we are, you have to think of development as a multifaceted phenomenon. It is a cross-sector, societal, economic, cultural, political, and so on. So when we transitioned from a one-party state into a multi-party state, it meant that we were departing from a state which was anchored on ideology. Okay? You can call it humanism, but that is what defined the political landscape. Humanism. There was an ideology. So when you belonged to a party like UNIP, you understood the ideology. When multipartyism came in, it was a liberal capitalist economy. Okay? So the party which won was MMD. Now, you could identify it, although through the manifesto and so on. You could basically say it was a liberal economic pursuing party, and the ideology they were following was capitalistic. Okay. Then the advent of the formation of new parties, because they were now fighting for the supremacy of governing, they started forming or creating new parties. Because the landscape had been taken in terms of what ideology to follow, most of these parties started gravitating to a support base which could basically be known as tribal. Okay? So you started seeing these mushrooming parties which said they wanted to advance the interests of their community or region. And therein lies the weakness of our political system in terms of development. Because you found all these parties now, which were mushrooming, they basically had no concept of an ideology. If you ask a Zambian now today, why did you join this party? The basic answer is one, they are identifying that this party will look after their personal interests. And the commonality in that is the leader is probably from their region. Okay? So it was not strange to find most parties failing to exist beyond a certain time, because tribal support is not viable, it's not sustainable. But we lost this critical aspect of what should a foundation of a party be in terms of its manifesto, in terms of its ideology, in terms of its belief. Now, when you do that, you are becoming structurally weak in the political environment. And it leaves room for adverse interventions from things like those who just want to join because they want to advance their own economic or private purposes, their own tribal interests, etc., etc. You can today sit and ask the majority of party members in wherever they belong that, have you read the manifesto of this party? They've never even read the manifesto of the party. They have just been attracted to that party by the leader, the person there. And that is now the development of cultism. And it started, I think, in the second. Hello?
Muito busy. Sorry, go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you, Mwale. We can hear you.
Okay. And this phenomenon started in the second term of Chiluba. Chiluba started trying to build a cult around himself. And these are the mistakes of leaders. When power gets to them. But at that time, I think the Zambians were still militant let's say, even in the party itself, in MMD. And some of us who were there and considered as the young Turks, the young generational leaders who were looking forward to leading the nation, decided to say, no, we can't continue with this. And we left. So the disintegration of the MMD basically started because of this phenomenon of cultism, which was supposed to be parties forming split. Okay. In the meantime, of course, we had other opposition parties which were coming up and so on, being set up, led by the erstwhile leader Anderson Mazoka and so on, which was basically seen and known to be a tribal party from the southern province. And the agenda was carried on because for a long time, remember, the mainstay or the stronghold of the UPND was in the southern province. So, and unfortunately, whether it was good or not, because of that large support base, it was basically seen as the regional party, which I'm glad to say transitioned and transformed into a national party. But following that, there's still been a growth of parties which are weak because ideologically they have no base or foundation. So where you have this societal weakness, you start seeing a rise in tribalism. Okay? It is a development which has been created because of the opportunity or lack of any other form of ideology to follow. So we are now seeing our country.
Oh, he's dropped off. I think it's going to be back soon. Yeah. Yeah, you dropped off for a minute. Yeah, we can hear you. You dropped.
Of our politics. I'm having problems with the connections here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Now we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. So it is something which we must start dealing with head on. And unfortunately, or fortunately, when a government is in power, it has the instruments and therefore it has the power to lead a nation in a certain direction. And we cannot blind ourselves that the phenomenon or element of tribalism is on the rise. And it is for those who hold the instruments of power to start immediately dealing and redressing with these ills or these negative societal phenomena. What do they do? This is why my introduction was, what are the values that we have lost as a nation? When we stand up and say one Zambia, one nation, do we really have the spiritual dedication to that call? No. We just say it for the sake of saying it. All right? I want to pause here and say, as a byte standard, I saw the same what I'm seeing now, I saw it in the PF. The PF, whether by design or by choice, remember I said parties started sprouting up based on their strong regional
stronghold.
foundation. PF, PF was basically seen as a Bemba party, as a reaction to what they thought the MMD had unfairly treated some of their tribes.
Okay. So, yeah, basically, I think I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying. And you know, you're bringing up
on the radical party of. Okay, there you go.
Go ahead.
PF modeled itself on the Simon Kapwepe's party. Okay.
Oh, it's dropped off again. Oh my God.
PF became basically a member party. And of course, the Southerners always felt that they were sidelined. But now that they are in power, the UPND is being seen to be perpetrating the same type of policies vis-a-vis tribalism that the PF was doing.
Well, let me just chime in on that one. Let me just chime in. You brought up an important issue when it comes to tribalism. You know, I think the current government, the current president, is trying to follow those elements or ideologies that have been lost. Because if we remember, Kaunda was a one Zambia, one nation man. Okay? But at the same time, UNIP was strong in the Eastern Province. UNIP was the biggest party, and the Eastern Province was like that was the stronghold you're talking about. That was UNIP. You know? Now, but at the same time, and at the same tone, Kaunda was saying, we are united as one Zambia, one nation, and nobody should feel, segregated. And these are the principles. I can tell you one thing. Yes, people have the perception to say the UPND is a Tonga party. Okay, but look at its cabinet. It's a well-rounded cabinet, just like the first cabinet that Kaunda had. Well-rounded. There's everybody from every province. So that's where it shows a leadership, and that's where it shows commitment when it comes to one Zambia, one nation. If we look at the previous governments, everybody knows how their cabinet was looking like. Okay, I don't have to spell it out. But our cabinet and our leader and everything, if you look around, I mean, my name is Chanda Chirufia, but why why do I like the UPND? It's not because it's a Tonga party. It's because of the ideas and the ideology that the current government is bringing to the Zambian people and what they want to do for the people. Mamon. So those are the reasons, Kaziya. Oh, man. So that's what I was saying. So, like I was saying, so those are the things. So being tribal is neither there or here, because I think everybody has demonstrated, just looking at how people voted. Okay, he was voted in almost every corners of this country to become the leader of this country.
Rajan,
Uh,
I think it's important that you listen to what Mafisho is trying to say.
no, I hear what he's saying.
You see, the issues to do with tribalism, the issues to do with tribalism have started. Yes, when it was time for elections, yes. The issue was to cure those kind of regional politics and also to unite the people and bring everyone together. That was the concept. That concept was appreciated and accepted by every Zambian. That if you hear what he talked about, the way the PF was perceived, it was perceived to say it is going to be a Bemba party with a Bemba agenda and the other tribe to the exclusion of Southern, Western, and Northwestern. That is the point which he's trying to bring out here. But the UPND had an agenda to say we need to come and break this out and bring everybody together. But no, the issue is different. People have been raised questions, and these questions have not been answered. Number one, how many people from other regions have been put on ice from cabinet office? It is only specifically 2 regions that you are going to find there: Easterners, Northerners, Wapula, and other things. They are the people that are on the bench. Look at the quasi-government management systems. We all were in trouble when they would produce the list of every permanent secretary, whether you are Mandes, when you are from Ribias, you are deemed Bemba. How many of those senior government officials, directors, have been brought in? They have been brought in based on the region. Look at the embassies. So as much as you may say that, oh, this is what is the region, the cabinet, no. The reality is different. And it needs to be addressed, not to be covered.
Okay, no, that's good. Well, it's well valid, and of course, we respect how you look at it. I think I think about Fisho is having problems with the connection. Maybe if you can just log out and log in again, if you can hear us, log in and log back again. That would be good, because we can't hear you or anything. So, Kaziya Muneni, Sharia tribal. I think we all know when this issue started coming up. It only started. It wasn't even a thing. Not until Vana and Kaneva, your party started bringing it up. Mamon. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't even an issue. Nobody
I don't know which party are you meaning that my party?
TPF.
Oh.
But PF for much today.
I never had a position in PF. You know that, huh?
Okay.
Are you aware that I did not hold any position in PF? Are you aware?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware.
Now let me be clear with you. I never held any position in PF. I was a civil servant through and through. I worked in the public service for 28 years. I never have held any political office up to today. But I have seen how politics has played in Zambia. And that is what I'm telling you. Being appointed by President Edgar Lungu does not make me PF. He saw the capacity in me to deliver on public service. That is why I was appointed as permanent secretary. After I met the qualifications of being appointed as permanent secretary, having worked at the director level for many years, having served at different levels in the public service, I was not like my colleague Tabo Kawan, who came from a political sense, that BPS, never stepped a foot in public service. but you hold a permanent secretary position. That was different from me. And that is why now you would assume everybody appointed by President Edgar Lungu to be PF, because that is what you have done. I have
No.
condemned that kind of appointment of people that have not worked in the public service to be appointed to senior civil service positions. It is wrong. And that is why you find a political person, a political cadre who becomes a civil servant, they don't drop the political aspect of things. They will still run like they're in politics. They will not forget that, oh, this time it's a public service that I'm serving. You draw money from public service, both the people that you don't agree with and the people that you agree with. The people that oppose you, the people that insult you, they're the same people that pay you. So it's different. So this is what I'm highlighting. I'm highlighting what I saw and commenting on what Fisho had brought in. Fisho had brought in these things that are generational changing, the changing of dynamics in terms of when a person forms a party, if it's a region, they don't have an ideology around it. An ideology is now looked at, oh, is it my tribesman who forms a party, therefore I must belong to one. And that is what we're saying is wrong, the ideology. It's a wrong platform to use. Let's be clear with our forefounding fathers' ideology of one Zambia, one nation. And then we live according to that principle of one Zambia, one nation, and not political appeasement. So I just wanted to be clear that I've never held a political position.
Okay. No, that's understood. That's understood. That's very understood. If you've never held any political position, but you are more like a sympathizer, we can call it that way. Maybe you are, affiliated with the Patriotic Front, right? But what we're saying is this: most Zambians don't care whether you are PF, you are UPND, or you are UNIP. Nobody really cares. What we want to, yeah, go ahead.
At this point in time,
Go ahead while I bring in. Go ahead while I bring in Bakalinda. Go ahead.
You see, one of the things that is very critical and which is true. At the time that I was appointed, I was propagating and implementing the government of the day programs. That is what you do when you are permanent secretary. You don't create your own programs to start implementing. You implement the government programs. And that does not make you a cadre. You only become a cadre if you have no requisite qualifications to the job where you're appointed, because now you have to appease the appointing authority. I was very glad with the transition that President Edgar Lungu did in the last 3-4 years of his presidency, especially the quality of the appointments of the people that were running now the civil service. Almost everybody who was appointed at the time was at master's degree level with over 10 years to 15 years public service work. I have told you that when I was appointed, I'd never met President ECL. He saw me through my work and the reports. So it wasn't a political appeasement, because if it was a political appeasement, he would have not appointed me. He would have said, let me appoint other people that are going to have political inclination. But he appointed people that were going to serve. And I would give an example. PS Musuma Mulenga, PS Banabi Mulenga, PS Mukuri Chikuba. You would see people like those. They were seasoned civil servants of many years. So it was not any political cadre who would assume the position of permanent secretary. No. It was because there was a transition to say, let's make sure that we create a professional civil service. And we all audit the people. We will serve at the place of the presidency, but we are serving the Zambian people and providing the right guidance. That is what I can tell you.
Well, okay. Should it be a prerequisite to say, look, if I've not served in the government system before, then I cannot be a permanent secretary? What if you're
Yes.
you have certain qualifications? You know,
But
because
the question that you are asking is a very definite yes, I would say. If you have never served in public service for the years that you require to be permanent, you should never be one. Because it takes years for you to understand the civil service and public service procedures. You can't understand public and civil service procedures when you have not worked in public service. It is impossible.
Okay, that's why kunipa mkusambiri if you public service.
In 1 week by Chanda. That is why every job there is qualifications. Every job, if you want to get the best out of a person, the person must serve at a certain level, because you are the decision maker. So the basis for your decision is what you have learned over the years plus your education. Combine these two things, experience and education. You can't get experience through books. You have to go through it. Books can never give you experience. You have to go through it. That is why even our name salary normal payment. This is when they are learning the job. It's a job that they are learning now. But it's too late when decisions have been made.
Okay. So, of course, I mean, decisions have been made, but Moneni, if you're looking for a job, they put them qualifications. Okay. And then if you tick all those boxes, say, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. If the employer sees that, he's capable of doing this job. You don't necessarily have worked in the government system to do a good job. And most people that I know that actually do good jobs is people that haven't even worked in public service before. But who went through the original system, and all those, because it was a system those days. Right? I think you can talk on that one, because I'm sure you I think I remember you were saying that you went to Kunipa, you studied, you went to government, you studied at a very young age. You know? But how about now, Lelo, 2020 in the 21st century? Okay, things are done like it's a little bit different. We cannot follow the same blueprint. One. Okay, so while you answer that, let me answer Wakalinda. She's failing to connect. Kaziya. Hello. Yeah, Wakaziya, are you there? Hello. No, it looks like people are dropping out. So yeah, so like I was saying, you know, it cannot be the same system. You know, you can always it has to change. You know, it has to change, and the system that was there back in the 60s, and how permanent secretaries were employed, cannot be the same system that we can use today. Okay, so the president has the right to say, look, I can appoint you as a permanent secretary because you have certain capabilities, qualifications, and you can do the job. So these are the issues that we need to look into, and like I was saying, look, tribalism, it only started when when the PF themselves started doing it. You know, when they started talking about it, nobody was actually talking about it before the Patriotic Front. And we all know who was the leader. We all know who was the leader. And that leader is who? Okay? Who was that leader? Yeah, we know that leader. And the leader is one man, the same man that everybody knows. Okay? And that man, he brought all these tribalism stuff and employed people to go around the country. We're not going to mention names. Yeah, to go and preach tribalism. You know? So we need to also look at that. You know? We need to look at that. Okay? So, yes. So,
I talked about the issues to do with what we have lost and how I was just simplifying our Peter's point in terms of how I see it. The government to make sure that they don't depart away from those principles.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was saying to myself, I was like, look, on the four corners of this country, our founding fathers thought it to be fit to say, we are one Zambia, one nation. And you look at how the previous cabinet was, like I was telling you, look, it was a well-rounded cabinet. Same thing with this cabinet. It's a well-rounded cabinet. Okay? But the point you are bringing out is when it comes to permanent secretaries. You were saying you can only qualify to be a permanent secretary if you've worked in public service. If you've never worked before, then you won't know the systems and so on and so forth. But we're saying, look, there are people who have specific talent and needs and qualifications that can actually fit that role without going through public service. It shouldn't be like a mandatory thing to say, look, you have to go through public service. No. You will find somebody who's well qualified. You find somebody that is well, educated, well, knowledgeable about everything that you're ticking the boxes. Like I was saying, look, why not appoint him as a permanent secretary? Mamon. So it shouldn't be a necessary thing or a mandatory thing to say omuntu alingira abanani kane abomba mu government for 20 years zero ngafuma and then no Kaziya. Is that your thinking? So somebody tabombere in public service in
question for you.
Go ahead, I can hear you. What's the question?
I have a question for you. In a bank like
the bank?
Ever worked in the bank? Employ someone to be its managing director who has no banking experience.
Okay.
Be employed in the bank. Hello?
Well, if he has the bank. Okay. Yes. Can the bank employ somebody who doesn't have banking knowledge or what? Okay, because I mean it's more like because banks hire people from different backgrounds, They don't necessarily have to have banking experience, but as long as they're able to do, because there's different departments in the bank. All right. So you can be a marketing manager, but you work for a certain bank. You can be
Can you hear me?
You know, I can hear you now.
Yes, I
Yes.
was asking to say, can a bank like Bank of Montreal employ
Uh-huh.
somebody who has the knowledge because of training, but he has no banking experience and is employed as a managing director? Can they do that?
If is able to do the job, yes, there's no problem. Like, look, management. Look, if you
No,
if
I'm
you're if
saying,
you're going
can
to
they
be,
employ as a managing director?
yes, they can.
Okay,
They can.
then it answers the question. If a person who has never been an engineer, but he has engineering knowledge, he can be employed as an engineer. Then I rest my case. I'm
Monen,
telling you, yes, anyway,
no,
yeah, then what the person needs is knowledge and not experience, and then you get a job.
there's certain jobs or positions that you don't really need experience. When it comes to engineering, that's something different, right? You
Okay.
need to have those kind of certain skills and certain things to do. But on a managerial level or director level,
That's why in the government, the only person who doesn't need that is a minister. A minister is the one who doesn't require the knowledge of the functions of that ministry of the PPS. No, it's a minister. Anything to do with that, the moment you start to temper, you dilute the qualifications and knowledge in the public service, you are done. That is what it is. Yes, if you want to bury your own public service, you should do that at all. Now, what knowledge there from BKNPS, you will see a Komukamona. You will see where the country will end, I'm telling you. Because the drivers of every country are not ministers, it's the civil service. The strength of the civil service is the strength that drives the country. If you kill the civil service, the entire government is done.
Okay. So your point is saying the people that, okay, let's go straight to your thing. You mentioned Wakawana. You mentioned him. Okay. So you're saying he doesn't qualify to have that position? Is that what you're saying? Wakawana.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Why?
He doesn't have the requisite qualifications. Neither does he have a requisite experience. He doesn't have.
So what constitutes, because Moneni, if somebody is a permanent secretary.
If I can flag this back to you, what do you understand is the job of the permanent secretary?
Okay. So just for layman's understanding, from somebody who's just listening, and they'll ask themselves, what's the job of a secretary?
Permanent secretary.
Yes. So permanent is just one thing that they've added, but the secretarial work, what is it? Okay, you assist a manager or a director in doing all the administrative work. Okay, so when it comes to, depending on the department, when it comes to information or whatever, media kulanda pa TV kusta explain if and you are able to do that, then you can qualify.
Do you know that a permanent secretary is a managing director of a ministry? If you think about a managing director, that is how you must think about a permanent secretary.
Okay, so explain to the whole world.
That is why.
Explain to the whole world. Insto yakwa permanent secretary. What's the job?
Very well. Chanda. That is why qualifications which are going at master's degree level. Why is it that they want you to be at master's degree level for you to start thinking about permanent secretary? Who drives policy? You must understand that the permanent secretary deals with the human resource, deals with the policy, deals with performance management, deals with operation. You must understand that permanent secretary is the controlling officer for that ministry. The entire management of the ministry, both its staff and resources, reside in the permanent secretary. Managing the minister himself, the minister has no part to play in terms of financial resources for the ministry. It's a permanent secretary. So, and policy development. The permanent secretary must understand the project management. The permanent secretary must understand project implementation, evaluation, monitoring. The permanent secretary must understand performance management, design, and implementation of that. The key functions of what the ministry is about, the permanent secretary must understand. The permanent secretary must understand civil service procedures, both in terms of the terms and the conditions of employment, disciplinary procedures, and the other relationship procedures. Once of your issue as permanent secretary. Tafisa ngame no ya mukanwa. Tafipona ngame no ya mukanwa twala fishi bali loline. Therefore, abana expert takwaba. You have to go through the process.
Tafisa ngame no ya mukanwa.
If you never minister, you don't also have the ministers, permanent secretary. So the minister must always be seen to be the driving policy and the government position. It's not a PS. Who plan PS to allow from the minister. All of them will think who can permanent secretary. So we will learn in the experience that if it is inandable because these are political matters. I am not a politician. Permanent secretary is a party politician. Not a president. What are you going to do?
Okay, so if
I was talking about PS, did you ever hear me speak about President HH when I was PS? There are things that we even did, inspected and stuff like that. You never saw me go public and say, oh, we are inspecting President HH, therefore the findings are A, B, C, D. No. Whatever was found was communicated in the right channel. We knew he was an opposition leader and he was a politician. You never heard any of us, permanent secretaries, go and start insulting him over that. No. You never heard me insult President Membe. You never heard me insult President Kalaba. Once I have a political position, you do not mess around with them. They are not at your level. As even if people say to why you fashion, they are not your friends. They are potentially your leaders. And you must respect and save them. Never public service is to fund that. Never could even public service. It's not about one opposition leader and as people say to why I'm going to. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
I hope more for that.
No, awe ningumfwa nikumfwa kwenda ningumfwa nomba ichipusho chimo mulenje bati bonse mu government yaba PF taba step appoint permanent secretary bonse bali they went through public service. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. But two positions. I'm a permanent secretary, which are political inclined in nature, but they are still leaders of public service within the province. Provincial permanent secretaries, ever paramina kuma politics. Ministerial permanent secretaries, ever paramina kuma politics. That you should know. If Kawana was provincial permanent secretary, could you feel like we know? Then we just give him provincial minister so that he can politic well. I'm a provincial permanent secretary. Vari dual roles because they supervise all the ministries in the province. All the ministries administratively, they supervise them permanent secretary to make sure that challenges that the civil service are experiencing within the province and its implementation. The permanent secretary at provincial level will hold and manage those problems and resolve them in an administrative manner. And to show that the budget lines that are given to government in those provinces are being followed and the policies being implemented. That's a difference. But the technical aspects of every civil servant in the province lies within the ministry that is guiding, that is serving. For instance, Ganinkwata Assistant Labor Commissioner, Copper Belt, he will report to the secretary, give him the reports. The problem, the PS Copper Belt will ask him to do certain things. If you have taken, if you have taken, let me now go through the line ministry so that I can get the technical guidance. Administrative guidance, province, after travel, the province is going to authorize Ngakuri for the province. The province are going to do that. So that is what happens. That's the difference. It's not everybody that might have the technical competence. I am talking about a ministerial representative. You will never find a cat in those. You will find one in the province because they are dealing with political and civil service procedures. That's why you see them. They are thinking around those and the breakdown. You can't have the secretary overshadowing the minister. Why is it? Why should they go? We here, government settlement case when the minister is there. Who's the minister? I'm not supporting the because it's what. No, I'm speaking about this, and this is a challenge. To make sure the minister performs his duties without a Jewish appearance.
You know, but Vamwito cannot do everything. Okay, if there are certain things that need to be explained by the permanent secretary, he will be able to do that. That's my point. You know, because the minister himself, he cannot do or respond to each and every question. He can't. He can't be at both places at the same time, right? So the permanent secretary can't kick it.
You see, you're looking to the converted. One in the position. So let's come and teach me that he can't speak about everything. I know what a person can speak and he can't speak.
Kuriama yeko kuna nkumie wa Kaziya. Yatampu ile upika ile ufika nani katika Kuriama yeko. There's an echo coming. Tafile umfika. London tumfwe. Yeah, network connection ili bad mdala. Tafile umfika. Network ile ufika ile shana rumba. Network ile shana rumba. So, Awe, you know, Ili Ashiriyama permanent secretaries, he has the knowledge was be the permanent secretaries. But I'm just looking at outside looking in. We want to acquire it. You know, just outside looking in. We have certain individuals that have got specific talents, capabilities, and certain knowledge. Right? If they can do the same job that a permanent secretary can do, why not appoint them or put them on that position? Because they can do the job, right? I mean, I don't think it's very well complicated. It's like that complicated, whereby, it's a more technical kind of job where you have to have certain technical skills. Being a permanent secretary, as big as it is, it's not really like on the technical kind of, side.
But so he was talking about if there's no way that they can be appointed. Okay, he has those qualifications, he has the capability, and is delivering. That's why certain individuals are not happy, and certain political parties are not happy, because he's able to point out the ills and the norms and and everything else, and point out what's wrong or right, and say, look, this is wrong, this is right, this is what it is, this is the government position, and the position is this. Okay? So 60 years down the road, to Africa quiz, 60 years down the road, where are we? 60 years down the road, we are now we've reached at a place where we say we need more young people to come in the service. Okay, let's bring in more young people. All right, they need to be put in these positions now, because young people have certain knowledge that are working for today. If we're going to lead this next generation from now going forward, we need people that are young, with fresh minds, with advanced knowledge and advanced capabilities to move us forward. Otherwise, we'll be just going in circles, 360 degrees. Every year, every 5 years, we will just be the same. We need to build a new Zambia. And that new Zambia, meaning we need that eagle that is sitting on the flag to go and catch that fish and bring it out from the river and present it to the Zambian people to say, here's your bounty. Let's now eat as Zambia. Let everybody benefit in all sectors, from mining, from mineral wealth that we have that nobody is actually benefiting. Every Zambian right now, people are not benefiting. Why are we not benefiting from what we have as Zambians 60 years down the line? Why do we have to depend on foreigners, for example, to come and tell us what to do with our minerals? You know, it's a little bit disappointing, because the leaders that came before us, they put the footwork. They already put the foundation. Let's just pick up the pieces and say, look, Zambia to somebody on one thing, and that thing that we're going to learn from us is to trust ourselves, invest in ourselves, and build a lot of economic opportunities for young people, because they are the future. Because in the next coming 50 years, we need fresh minds. Okay, the old people that are in position right now, they're not going to be here for the next 50 years. So we need to start thinking about that now. Okay, we need to start leadership programs, start training young minds in various skills, in various technologies, so that people are able to carry that torch. Okay, that torch that the forefathers, Avena Kaunda, Vankumbula, Nabashala, left for us. That has to be passed on from generation to generation. And that torch should give us some sort of answer, when in the dark times, that when the dark times, we face dark times, we need a torch that can light and illuminate, our problems, and be able to see and try to find out situations and solutions. Like right now, Zambia is grappling with what? Energy. How don't we have engineers, young people, young minds that have solutions for this? There was one young, not young, but there was an old a man in a certain village. He used his own mind, to create a small hydro plant. He found water was running. He created a hydro plant. It's been electrifying his house and the neighbors. A small little thing. Now, you can imagine if we need to invest in people like, well, minds like that, okay, and put it on a larger scale. We don't need another Kariba Dam. All we need to have is a small little hydro plants, and they don't cost enough. They don't even cost much. Small little hydro plants. They don't cost much. We can do it, and the local people can do it, and we've got the right people in the local industry, certain places where there's water. Okay, so people, if they can start electrifying their homes, their villages, with all that water that's running, they won't depend on ZESCO. Like, well, why do we need ZESCO? ZESCO should now concentrate on supplying to the bigger industries and bigger companies. Even the bigger companies themselves now, they're now evolving to where they're starting to produce their own electricity and run on their own grid and selling the extra to the local community. I think in the next coming, from now going forward, or it should be put in law to say all mining or big industries that are setting up, they should have their own power generation system. They should not depend on ZESCO, because ZESCO can only do so much. So we've now learned a lesson. Let's go forward. Any new company, any new mine, before you bring a proposal to the government of Zambia, you need also to come up with how you're going to power that plant. Are you going to use power through coal? Are you going to use hydro? But it has to be part of the package. And that package, you can only use so much. And because in the past we've known that ZESCO has been supplying power to most of these mines more than they need. Okay, and that's brought strain to the Zambian people. And they even reached at a point where ZESCO had to buy back that power. You can imagine that. Now, we have not really thought about that, but these are real issues, and things like that have happened, and they've been happening. But we need to move forward. From now going forward, any new mine, they should have their own power source. They should power their own facility or plant. The leftover, they should supply to the community. All right. So it's been 60 years, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. I think we're going to drop off from now. We've had a good 2 hours, and 1 hour at least. We've covered a lot of issues, but just remaining remarks is, as Zambians, let's stand up and let's stand up for our country. Because there's nobody else that's going to do it for us. If you don't stand up now, nobody will come and give you that country. There's only one Zambia, one nation, and one leader. That's it for now. That's all we have. And let's support, encourage ourselves, encourage the current leader, so that we can move forward. I mean, if we keep on going back and forth with recycled leaders, we're not going to progress. Because I mean, why would we want to bring somebody who failed miserably in the last 10 years to bring him back again? That would be very I don't even know the words to use, but it's a mockery to the Zambian people and their intelligence. It's insulting Zambians' intelligence. Like, look, why would you bring somebody who failed miserably back? Like, are we really not that open-minded or not really that smart? Well, it's up to the Zambian people to vote and to answer these questions. But me personally, there's no way I can give somebody who failed miserably to come and say, I want to come back and lead you. What are you going to teach me? We already know your capabilities, what you can do and what you cannot do. We've already tested the water, so we want new people, new minds, young people to come up and bring this country forward. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Until next week, good night.